louder. Hundreds of anti-government protesters rallied in the capital Santiago, infuriated by this video that went viral on Friday. It shows a riot police officer chasing a teenager who's then thrown from a bridge and lands in a shallow canal, face down and motionless. He survived and is in a stable condition in hospital, but the pictures are being shared widely with public calls and by opposition politicians for Santiago's chief of police to resign. Police deny an officer pushed the youngster off the bridge and say much of what's being said on social media is incorrect.
We want to clarify the untrue story that this person was held over the bridge by his feet or pushed over the edge by the water cannon, as some on social media claimed they witnessed. Fortunately, there is a video that shows this unfortunate accident happening during an intense situation with a group of people causing disorder. Now the prosecutors must evaluate based on evidence.
Following Friday's incident, red dye was thrown into the canal water, symbolizing blood, highlighting what protesters say has become a systematic government crackdown since last year.
The police are violent. We can't bear it anymore. They've raped, tortured, run people over, blinded others, and now they're throwing people in the Mapocho River. The government doesn't want us to protest. It doesn't want us to gather together, but they don't care that we gather in the subway and on buses like sardines to go to work.
The government issued a statement saying it condemns any form of violence, adding that the officer in question has been removed from his post, while an investigation is underway. The UN released a 38-page investigative report condemning the government's response to mass protests a year ago against increasing public transport costs and social inequality. During the unrest, 31 people were killed and many injured. Nearly 30,000 were detained, hundreds of them reportedly being tortured and sexually abused. That prompted Chilean prosecutors to investigate thousands of human rights violations reportedly committed by security forces during the protests. Since last October, a series of cabinet reshuffles have resulted in 3 men successfully being put in charge of the Interior Ministry. But the leadership changes don't seem to have calmed protesters. The constitutional referendum is due on October the 25th.
Fauci, part of the president's coronavirus task force, talking about President Trump's coronavirus diagnosis today. NBC News senior national correspondent Kate Snow spoke to Dr. Fauci in a live stream for Cornell's Stay Homecoming. She joins me now. Kate, what did Dr. Fauci say about the president's return to the White House last night, especially removing his mask while he is still contagious, according to the CDC?
Right. So let me be clear. Dr. Fauci is not on the team of physicians treating the president, nor is he directly involved in the messaging that's happening. He made that very clear. He also made clear that he was not going to directly criticize the president. All that said, when I asked about the image of not wearing a mask and the words that were said in the video last night when the president said that this essentially is not that big a deal, don't be scared, this is what Dr. Fauci said to me. He said, I'm going to start by repeating what I say all the time. He said, it is important in the environment we're in right now with COVID-19 and the spread of infection in our community with 40,000 new infections a day, that some things should be universally practiced, and that is wearing masks, avoiding crowds, keeping a distance, doing things outdoors more than indoors, and Allison, washing our hands frequently. And then he says, it doesn't matter who you are. So I think we could read that as a message of no matter who you are, even if you're the leader of the free world, you need to wear a mask.
What's going on outside there. This is the military hospital at which President Trump is being treated right now. There's some people out there with flags, pro-Trump demonstrators, giving him some encouragement, as we all are. Doesn't matter where you stand politically. We wish all our fellow countrymen who have been felled by coronavirus, who are suffering through it, the best. And of course, our wishes go out to the families of those 210,000 Americans who have died of this disease. As you know, I've been traveling around the country every week, and as I travel around on my tour across America, I've had conversations with voters about a lot of topics, including some that are quite far removed from reality. Certain conspiracies have made their way from the darkest parts of the web and into the mainstream by a string of online disinformation. Now, these theories, they're not just false, they are dangerous, and they're a fundamental problem that's got the potential to upend the presidential race. I'm joined now by Brandy Zadrozny to debunk some of them. Brandy, here's the situation. You and I have talked about things that show up on QAnon and things like that, but the people I talk to, I don't think they know QAnon. I don't think they go to QAnon sites or the dark web, but somehow this stuff makes it into mainstream, and these theories are getting out there. One of the most prevalent pieces of misinformation that we've come across is that Joe Biden was wearing an earpiece. I'm wearing one right now, an earpiece during the debate. This is how my producers communicate with me. They tell me things like, shut up, you're talking too much. There was a picture, and here it is on TV. It looks like AirPods. Clearly, Joe Biden wasn't wearing AirPods during the debate, so this is faked. What's going on with this?
It's absolutely faked, and that came from the Trump campaign. And it's a really good example of the sort of cycle of disinformation that we see. So for months, the Trump campaign and sort of the online community that calls themselves his digital soldiers has been pushing this disinformation that Biden is somehow mentally unstable, he has dementia, things like that. And that's where this fits. People were showing the rosary on his arm that he wears for his son Bo, who died, and saying that it was some sort of microphone apparatus. But all of this is sort of to explain away him doing a decent job and saying he can't possibly do that. And when we see with our own eyes that he seems to be all there, he seems just fine mentally, they point to that he must have had help. And that also shows it to them that he's cheating. And since April, we know that Donald Trump and his allies have been pushing this idea that the election is somehow rigged against him in all sorts of ways. So he kept, this stuff bubbling up from the internet and then promoted by the Trump campaign, and the cycle is really complete.
Brandy, one of the other ones that came up while I was in Kenosha, and these are good, honest people. When I asked people what the biggest issue is to them during the campaign, child sex trafficking came up. Now, there are a couple issues with this because, first of all, nobody who's running for president is in favor of child sex trafficking, but this felt like a handover from the last election where a guy went and shot up a pizza parlor because he thought Hillary Clinton and her group were running a pedophilia ring. This is still alive. Why?
Because it's a way that QAnon has rebranded itself. QAnon is this ridiculous conspiracy theory that was born in a racist and child pornography website, actually. And so it's this theory that, somehow Donald Trump is saving everyone from a cabal of...
on Twitter